All right, so what if you're caught in a dilemma? You have multiple guns, but your California issuing authority doesn't want to honor every gun that you carry. No, it's kind of weird for people not from California. Don't mind that. So in California, you have to qualify with a specific firearm. And with that, you can only carry the exact firearm that you qualified with. So that kind of excludes the rifles here. So obviously those aren't going to carry. So now I'm in a dilemma where I've got multiple firearms and I'm trying to figure out which three, in my case, I'm going to want to carry. So stay tuned. We're going to do a whole breakdown here and decide what we want to carry, what not to carry. We'll go over a few roster additions and go from there. All right. All right. So starting here, if you can tell, I'm a big 1911 fan. In fact, a couple of my 1911s, they're on my carry list right now, which would be this Eclipse, or I'm sorry, CDP Ultra. And then the other one on my list is this one right here. It's the Kimber Eclipse Pro, both in 45 ACP. And as much as I love the round, gosh, over time, this one gets a little heavy throughout the day. I know I sound like a wuss for people that have better belts than I, and weight's not an issue, but to me it kind of is. And then what kind of discredits even the weight is when you're a larger guy, this beaver tail and appendix carry on both of these, that thing sucks when you're sitting for a long time. So as much as I love the 1911, I love in that corner over there, that's the Kimber Warrior. I have the Kimber Custom 2 next to it. That's actually a really good gun. I remodified it, put in a bunch of Wilson Combat parts. We have the Dan Wesson Classic Commander Bobtail. Couple of customs right here. This is actually a Rock Island that I converted from a 5-inch barrel to a 4 1/4-inch barrel. The one currently on my list that I just mentioned, the Eclipse Pro Carry 2. And we have a couple of Rock Islands. Again, that's kind of a remodified Rock Island there. To the side there, that's a 10mm Commander size. This is a completely redone Rock Island, what is it called? The 3.5-inch barrel. And then the Kimber I had already mentioned. Revolvers, as much as I like them, this is the 627.5, that's the model 686, that's the 44 cal 629, which if you are not prone to recoil and you think it doesn't matter, I challenge you to fire that gun a few times and you will realize that recoil is in fact an issue. That thing is painful to shoot. Next gun over, that's the old classic 357 mag that the police used to carry. I believe it's the Model 10-13. And then, of course, down at the end, you can't have a collection without a 45 long Colt. Next row here, this is my XD and XDM lineup. And then, of course, the Springfield Hellcat Pro, which was added to the roster. That is a fantastic firearm. And if you live in a free state, that's a 15+1 magazine, really thin gun. Next over is the old classic XD subcompact. That's a 9mm. Couple of these I have that aren't on the roster, but did purchase them legally. So this one, of course, just made it to the roster. That's the XDM 9 compact. This one I had bought a little while ago from an officer that was getting rid of his gun. That's the 45 XDM compact. This one is the XDM compact 10 millimeter, and that's the big brother, the XDM compact. Sorry, both are compact elites, or all three. That's the XDM compact, or I'm sorry, the XDM full size 10 millimeter. Next are HKs. This just made it to the roster. This is the HK VP9. That's the HK P2000 40 Smith & Wesson. Excellent firearm. If you like 40 Smith & Wesson and you don't like recoil, I highly suggest taking a look at that gun. That gun is amazing. This is the HK P2000. Both are in LEM. I'll actually go back to that 40 to show you what I had done to it. But this is the P2000 9mm LEM. It has it only came with one mag. I had got it on a good sale recently. And so that little mag extension you see right there is actually, it's a VP9 magazine in there. Inside, or in between, if you'd say, is a mag sleeve I got from HK Parts, and it allows me to fit the VP9 magazine flush. And this is the P2000 SK 40 Smith & Wesson, which that is the third firearm on my permit currently. Excellent gun, excellent gun. Now down here to the SIGs, we have the SIG P220. Fantastic firearm. For some reason, I don't shoot it very often. With the other guns that I have, this one just seems not to make it to the range cutout. This is the SIG P320 or M18. I ended up remodifying it. This is a slide for a 40 Smith & Wesson. It's converted over. 4.7-inch barrel. I'm a big fan of 40 Smith & Wesson. So anyway, that one is that. This is an old classic SIG P229. Actually, a funny story behind this gun. It was, so inside of the original grips, you can actually see a born on date when the firearm was made. And I still have the original grips, but in any event, this is a 40 Smith & Wesson P229. The born on date was January of 1991. And so literally part of the first couple of batches that made it to the US, this is one of them there. And then this is the newer version of the P229, which is a 9mm. And over here to Glocks, these don't seem to get a lot of love anymore. This is the Glock 17, the Glock 19, the Glock 30. Had a couple of other ones, but I've kind of learned with having other firearms, all of them have the same point of aim. And whenever I bring my Glocks out along with the other guns and fire them, I almost have to kind of readjust my sight picture, which I don't really like doing. So those don't get a lot of love anymore. They're there in the safe. Probably one of those guns, or three of those guns, I'd probably never get rid of. Only because the reliability factor, the expense cost, when you do have to replace parts, it's always just a few dollars. And down here, this is a CZ75B, which they don't make anymore. This is actually a 40 Smith & Wesson also, so one of those guns I'll never get rid of because I'll never see it again. This just made it to the roster here. This is the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, 9mm. This is the M&P Shield Plus, which it's a 10-round magazine inside this little thing. And if you live in a free state, you get a 13-round +1 magazine. Gives you a slight bit of extension, but still just a great firearm to carry. And for whatever reason, this one, which is the Ruger Max 9, I love this gun. It's the most inexpensive firearm I have purchased to date, and needed a few modifications to it. pretty much only one modification. So when you buy this gun, which I'm imagining why it's so inexpensive, is the original trigger that comes with it is just terrible. So if you put your finger, safety's on, it is loaded, so had to make sure the safety's on. But the original trigger, if you would put your finger in here on the trigger to pull and you were at a little bit of an angle, it would actually push over this little trigger safety and it would lock up to where you couldn't pull the trigger. So definitely not something you would want to carry in a panic situation. Knowing how things can probably go, you're not going to want to focus on how exactly your finger is placed on the trigger. So to compensate for that, I ended up going through Apex triggers, installed this thing, and this trigger, I mean, it just makes this gun fire amazing. It is a, in my opinion, pretty soft recoil compared to some of these other firearms, and very accurate. I love the sight picture you get right there. It's just nothing to complain about whatsoever. So that leaves me to decide which of the three I would want to add on to my concealed carry list. So going through the list here, God, I really love this gun, but I'm a bigger guy. I kind of like having a little more grip. Not to say that this or this is a bad idea. If you were looking for a smaller CCW, maybe a pocket-sized pistol, I would honestly, I would go for the Ruger Max 9. I know I'd get a lot of people knocking me for not picking the Shield Plus, but this one is a, it was a magazine bought off of Freedom Week. And so anyway, this is a 12+1 magazine inside this little gun. You can literally put it in your pocket. And recoil, I mean, it's a 9. I wouldn't say it's the most harsh recoil no matter what. I would probably give the recoil softness to the Shield Plus, but this one is not too far behind, and just, I don't know, there's something about this gun that it just really is nice. Now, the M&P 2.0, this is an excellent firearm also. As you can see, I did remove the thumb safety. Ended up putting the plugs there, as much as there is also a safety here on the trigger. So you still have a safety mechanism there, but I'm kind of a believer that the 1911s are great for thumb safeties, but I would prefer my striker fire guns or polymer type guns. Normal type guns, I would prefer not to have a thumb safety. This gun is excellent. The point of aim is perfect. The grip is nearly perfect. Everything about this gun is incredible. My only knock on it are these. So it's your little slide release. You got one on this side, you got one on this side. Now, my preferred holster is a Houston holster, which it's not a Kydex holster. It kind of has a sweat shield. Great holsters for the most part, but what I find is these little slide releases and how much they stand out, this piece, that piece, as much as they stand out, what happens is it'll get stuck in the holster to where you almost need two hands just to unholster a gun. Now, granted, when you hold a gun, you definitely want to have two hands, but in the nick of time, you're probably not going to want to grab this with one hand, because you'll end up pulling out a whole holster and hoping to God that you still have enough time. CZ75B 40, absolutely love this gun. Probably a little too big for concealed carry. I mean, it's thin. It's a lot of it has good features for a carry, but a little long in the barrel for me. I don't know offhand the barrel length. I want to say it's like 4.4 inches or maybe 4.5, but just a little long for my taste for concealed carry. And there's definitely a little weight to it. I would actually compare it to some of those 1911s up there. Glocks, I already said enough about those. Extremely reliable, but not something I would want to conceal carry unless I only wanted to add Glocks to my carry. nothing wrong with them. They go bang every time. This gun has a lot of rounds through it. This one's probably next in line. This one I haven't shot too much, but everybody needs a Glock 17. So ended up purchasing that. SIGs, here's the 9 P229, 40 P229. Weight factor, if weight is an issue, stick with the 9. 40's a little bit heavier, which is to be expected. It needs a little more girth to be able to handle the 40 over the 9mm, but at least in my opinion, which this erases the P220, which is an excellent gun. The weight of it is nearly perfect for concealed carry. It's almost as thin as a 1911. Everything about it is great, but just for me, I'm not a striker fire, or I'm sorry, I'm not a double action, single action kind of person. Everybody, it's to all is their own. I just like the same trigger pull every single time. So over here to the SIG, I love this gun. This one is excellent in every single way, whether you put it in 9mm or back to 9mm at the 3.9-inch barrel, or this 4.7. Everything about it is great. But again, I'm a bigger guy. Same complaint I have with the 1911s up there. I can't stand this beaver tail. I appendix carry and I'm a big guy. So when I'm sitting down and this thing is poking me in the stomach, it drives me absolutely nuts. I have looked at different SIG P320 grip frames. All of them seem to have that beaver tail, which, you know what? It works. It's great. It gives you a good grip. Everything about it is amazing, but it's just not for me. I don't like being poked in the stomach every time I want to sit down. Up to the HKs. Gosh, you know, everybody says this one is too big to carry. I beg to differ. I really think this gun could carry very well. I love the grip options between your back strap and your side panels. I kind of did something a little weird here. Pull it out here. So, as funny as it sounds, I have the medium back strap on the back. On the right side, I have the small side panel, and then on the left side, I have the large panel. So I went medium, small, large. And but for my grip and everything, this thing gives me such an amazing sight picture the moment that I put it up. So love that one. Over here to my P2000. So this used to be a variant 3. And I converted it over to a light LEM variant 2. But what is nice about this, so the light trigger gives you a very light pull. Well, what I did was I left this little button right here. So if you tap this button, I won't do it because I don't carry that way, but if you were to tap this little button right here, it gives you a longer or a harder trigger pull. So basically a double action, single action trigger pull on your first pull. It is heavy. HKs, their first pull, when you have like a variant 3 or something, it's an extremely hard pull to get around that. And like I said, I converted this myself, made it a variant 2 with that option to give me a heavier trigger pull should I be a little nervous to blow my junk off. This is my most recent purchase. This one is the P2000. This one already came as the LEM. Ended up putting in the LEM light trigger, which again, something I prefer. I've done it with all my P2000s, so I might as well just keep the same consistent trigger pull. It still gives you about a 4.5 to 5 pound trigger pull. There's definitely a long travel. It's nothing there at all, but once you get to here, that's where your brake's going to be, and I don't feel like blowing away my fridge, so I'm not going to go ahead and pull it all the way. That one, same thing. Say what you will about Springfields. I know they have a history with not supporting the Second Amendment, but I'm kind of a gun snot or whore, if you'd say. I'm not biased to any brand, and I will say for the cost, I think Springfield makes an incredible line of firearms. This right here is the Oh gosh, this is the Springfield Hellcat Pro. Gives you the longer grip. Everything about it is great. It's extremely thin. I would compare this to even these smaller pocket-sized firearms that I was talking about. The only difference is you get a full-size grip with this. It's very light, easy to carry. Can't complain about it whatsoever. It's incredible. When you live in a free state, this is a 15+1 round mag in here. When you don't live in a free state, all these guns are 10 rounds plus one, exception with the 1911s. Oh, and the revolvers. So this right here, XD subcompact 9mm, one of my first guns that I purchased, and it's really a joy to shoot. It's an incredible gun. I bought that for my wife. That's her kitchen gun. There is a safe. It's her kitchen gun. She doesn't choose to carry. I'm kind of a nerd. As soon as I wake up, gun goes on my belt. As soon as I go to bed, gun comes off. So anyway, this is a 9mm XDM Elite. Oh, amazing firearm. Shoots really smooth, very flat. Can't beat it. This is not the Elite, but this is the XDM Compact 45. I don't think they make it anymore. Like I said, I bought it from an officer years ago. He had it for a long time, said he had only shot about 400 rounds through the thing, but just never took a liking to it. So he put it up for sale. I got it for an excellent deal. And so now it's a gun I'll never get rid of. So, and then my 10mm here, same thing, bought these off-roster guns, so you guys can imagine the price that I paid on those. This one, this compact 10mm Elite XDM, this one's gonna likely go on my next permit. I love this gun, and I know I don't wanna make a caliber war out of the thing, but I do go to a lot of areas that, wild animals, four-legged critters, whatever, is not an uncommon thing. And so I prefer to have a 10mm over a 9 or so forth. Could a 9 do the job? You can debate that all day long. I don't know. I've tried to research calibers as much as everybody else and come to the same conclusion that I wouldn't want to be shot by any of them. So we'll go with that. This will never be a carry gun. This is my 45 long Colt, but after watching the movie Tombstone, I just had to run out and buy one, so that's my story behind that. Old classic, well, not old, but 80s Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. This was the firearm that police used to carry before Glocks were born, and once the Glock came into effect, these went away, and they went for sale for very cheap, and had to pick one up. Great firearm, reliable, shoots well. My 44 mag, model 629. That gun is painful. If I am ever in an incident where I'm being chased down by a big, large, wild animal, I'd have to contemplate what would hurt worse, pulling the trigger or just getting eaten alive. So, not my favorite gun. You can call me a wuss all you want. I really don't care. I am a wuss. That gun, it's a 3-inch barrel. Thing just, God, it's painful to shoot. But if you can handle it, knock yourself out. Great gun. Model 686, that's the 7-shot. I don't know what it's called, the deluxe or premium, whatever they made it. All I really see is a smooth cylinder, and it's a 3-inch. Got custom grips put on there. It's a great firearm. Can't knock it. I am a California resident, so if I'm allowed to have 10, I kind of like closer to 10 rounds if I'm going to carry. That's just me. Revolvers are great guns. They go bang every time. If I were to add one on my list, it would be this one right here. This is the 627-5. God, I want to call it the deluxe or something also. It gives you the smooth cylinder. This is actually an 8-shot revolver. Kind of bulky, but man, for whatever reason, appendix carry and a revolver, no matter the size of them, you don't feel anything when you're carrying, even sitting down. They're amazing to carry. But again, you know, if I'm allowed to have 10, I kind of go on the side of wanting 10. So, you know, being that 357 Magnum and 10 millimeters are neck and neck almost, I'd kind of prefer to take the 10 over a revolver. 1911s, say more, no more. They're a classic firearm. Again, just the beaver tail stuff. I can't get over that. This one's an aluminum frame. It's very light. That's why I ended up adding it to my carry. Gosh, couldn't say anything better about it. It's been 100% reliable. I've shot that thing thousands of times, and in the beginning I had a few failures. I think that's just normal with any 1911. I've had that experience with most of them, aside from the Rock Islands, believe it or not, but great firearms. This Rock Island, compact size, whatever you want to call it, the 3.5-inch barrel, I did completely redo it. This every part in there now is Wilson Combat, which, you know, call me what you will. I like the cosmetic looks of guns, so I had to kind of redo it for something that I like. That's just me. But didn't change the reliability. The reliability in this firearm is amazing, and all the money that I spent on Wilson Combat parts, I still saved a ton of money compared to some of the other 1911s here on the table. And gosh, I would trust that thing just as much as any of the other firearms that I have. Great gun. 10 millimeter over here. That one is a custom make. Did get a serial number, but it is something that I made myself, and love the firearm. Beveled out the barrel there just to kind of pretty up the cosmetic looks. Great gun. Now, Kimbers, I definitely, out of all 1911s, I have a soft heart for Kimbers. In fact, I had the TRP Springfield at one point, traded that in for the Kimber Warrior over there at the end. Gosh, I can't tell you enough about Kimbers. I love them. This gun shoots extremely well. Everything about it is perfect. The weight to me, well, maybe it's because I'm getting older. I just don't feel comfortable carrying one of these all day long. And then again, the beaver tail. And I have love handles, so carrying in any other position, it wouldn't be concealed very well. This one right here, this was just the Rock Island 5-inch barrel, the old standard. I ended up remodifying it, cut back a little bit of the seating area where the recoil spring goes, and then put on a commander size barrel. It's just something easier to carry. So that's the story behind that one. This one I made for my wife. She's a big fan of 9mm, so I made her a 1911 9mm. With the weight of it, you're shooting this thing in 9mm and you feel like you're shooting a BB gun. There is no recoil whatsoever. It's a fantastic firearm. And the Virgin Mary right there, if you guys can't gather it, she is Mexican, so that's where I went with that. And then I just kind of prettied it up with a little bit of the cosmetic stuff there. That's my Dan Wesson. This was on my permit a couple of years ago. Great firearm. It conceals very well, especially with this little bobtail cut right here. Really no complaints. The weight may be a little bit of an issue. Again, gosh, man, I have a big heart for 1911s though, so it's kind of killing me, but I don't think I'm going to add a 1911 to my concealed carry list this time, just because that beaver tail is just, God, it's a pain in the ass to carry. That's my Kimber Custom 2. I'm going to flip it over here. This is, did a whole kind of redo on this one. Great firearm. This thing shoots like a dream. I did a couple of different custom things. Ended up putting in a fire pin plate, flat back, which without the curve, and it's completely flat. I don't know if you can see it in there. Right in there, that little fire pin plate. When you have a flat one there, give it a little bit heavier of a hammer spring over here. That actually really dampens your recoil a ton. And this one's my pride and joy 1911. This is the Kimber Warrior. Did the same modifications to that, heavier hammer spring, flat back firing pin plate. Adjusted a little bit of the recoil spring just to kind of help it shoot flat like the other ones here on the table. I think continuing on, it just cut off. So what I was saying was I had done the same modifications to each of my 1911s, and just really helps the flat shooting. So anyway, coming back to it here, sorry to get my fingers in the way there. I think what I am going to decide to go with my concealed carries, I'm going to take the 10 millimeter compact Elite, definitely, the XDM compact Elite 10 millimeter. That one's going to go on my carry list for reasons that I had already explained before. From there, definitely going to do the HK P2000 LEM light trigger installed. This one will be added to the roster also, and I'm kind of up in the air for what my third carry firearm is going to be. Logic should tell me I should probably stick with one of the HKs, but oh gosh, I'm kind of stuck here. Like I said, that one revolver over there, that's the 8-shot 627. Man, that might be number 3, but I guess stay tuned. I also wouldn't mind having a little pocket pistol just for those days where you don't feel like wearing it on the waist and you just want to put a firearm in your pocket. But decision to make nonetheless, but at least I've narrowed it down to the 2 that I'm going to add on. Maybe number 3. Gosh, maybe I'll do this little Hellcat Pro. So I'll say between the Hellcat Pro and the Model 627-5. If I'm going for weight and capacity, I'm going to go with this one. If I just want to have a revolver, yeah, it's going to be that one. So anyway, please feel free to add into the comments of what you think I should add on, and hope this long video didn't bore you. So anyway, have a great evening, everybody, and Happy New Year to everybody out there. Bye-bye.